All right, guys, we are back. You're listening to K-Talk Radio, 1640 AM. This is the show, Utah Home Sweet Home. I'm your host, Yoji Shiraki. Our special guest is Tyler Tolbert. We were talking about mountain lions on our commercial break. He had a mountain lion drinking out of his water fountain, right?
Or little pond.
Little pond that he put in his backyard. That's freaking cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Awesome. All right, so Tyler, I know about some of your, not all of, some of your investment properties, and it's fascinating because, like I said, you just skyrocketed your career right into the commercial world, where typically it's a slower transition for most investors. Do you mind sharing how you started to grow your portfolio, kind of strategies that you implemented? Did you just like leverage old, other existing investments, partner with people? Do you mind diving into that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, and it's probably a lot of all of that stuff.
Okay.
So I think the first thing was that I never increased my living expenses as my income went up.
Gotcha.
So I lived in that owner-occupied fourplex. We then lived in my my wife's owner-occupied duplex. When we were saving those funds from not having to pay rent or a mortgage or anything like that, we just saved the money.
Gotcha.
So that was probably the first thing, is you've got to be a saver before you can be an investor.
Yeah.
So keeping my personal living expenses low was really pivotal. And then as we just kept saving money, and at the beginning, all of everything that we did was with personal funds.
Gotcha.
I actually, not a lot of people know this, but until about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, I never used private money at all.
Got it.
Never got a hard money loan, never borrowed from my mom or my uncle or anybody.
Sure.
It was all just self-funded and scrimped and did things. Back in that time, though, 2013 to 2017, the market was different, so we were able to structure transactions a lot differently, where it wasn't quite as capital intensive.
Yeah.
So it was easy, I definitely was not making a ton of money. It just was, the barrier of entry to get into some of the deals then was just a lot different.
Right.
Especially compared to now.
Yeah.
So kind of moving forward, some of the things that I've done to upsize my portfolio and increase the quality of assets that we hold is we've leveraged the 1031 exchange.
Oh, nice.
So I have sold, that's a part of the tax code that allows somebody to sell a piece of real estate, buy a like-kind piece of real estate with a bunch of other nuanceable pieces. I'm not giving any advice, but with deferring the taxes until a later time, right?
Right.
So if you make $100,000 rather than taking home 70 of it and giving 30 to Uncle Sam, that allows you to take the whole 100 into the next deal.
Right.
So we started doing some 1031 exchanges. I actually exchanged the fourplex that we spoke about a little bit earlier. I also exchanged those lots into 2 separate properties. And currently we do all of the above. So we borrow private money on short-term, hard money type loans. We raise capital from partners that have money that they either real estate professionals or people not in real estate will put funds into our deals. And then I still buy stuff on my own. So we kind of do everything now.
Nice. Very cool. That's fantastic. Do you mind sharing then how you find these opportunities? Are they just on the MLS, or are you finding them through your network of other investor friends, or do you do marketing, mailing campaigns, anything like that?
Yep. Common theme seems to be all of the above.
Okay.
It's and that's part of, I guess, being full time in this, is that you have more time to cultivate all of that stuff, right?
Right.
So I do send out direct mail directly to sellers.
Okay.
The intent there is for me to be able to purchase a property that not the whole market gets to see.
Yeah.
Sometimes that allows us to have better pricing on assets, but usually the reason that I do that is it allows me to communicate directly with the decision maker, the
Gotcha.
owner of the asset.
Yeah.
And the value there is that it allows you to uncover what their actual motivation or problem or pain, if there is any,
Yeah.
might be that would encourage them to sell their property or even let them consider it.
Yeah.
And when you understand actually what's going on in their life, it's a lot easier to structure a deal
Yes.
that may not just be your run-of-the-mill vanilla, go get a loan, put down, whatever depending on what you're buying, 20 to 35%.
Yeah.
So I send out direct mail because I think there's a lot of value both for the seller and for myself.
Yeah.
In trying to be able to do stuff non-traditionally.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then I do a lot of networking. Well, before 2020 and COVID, there was a lot of networking. We do buy stuff off the MLS today,
Uh-huh.
so there's still deals on MLS, and a lot of stuff is brought to us off market. Just as time has gone on, people know that we're buyers and
Yeah.
that we're serious. So
Yeah.
they bring us deals that are troubled.
Gotcha. I know of a deal that you partnered up with a friend of ours that you used to office with, and maybe you still office with. I don't know. Do you still office in Red Road Road? Do you still
No,
have
but
that
we still
office?
own that. That's the one that's going to be the big. I think.
Oh.
It's going to have some legs.
Yeah. Okay. Very
That's the
cool.
only single family home in my portfolio, but it's technically a commercial asset.
Yeah. Does your partner still office there?
Nope, we actually rent it out.
Oh, nice. So you
So-
both moved in and then both moved out at
Yep.
some point. Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
And at one point we had a title company, Leslie Peterson,
I
was
remember.
officing there with us as well. So we had built our own little real estate trifecta.
Yes. I actually had a closing there with Leslie.
Yeah, probably all kinds of people did.
That's right. Very cool.
That's what's awesome about owning real estate, man, is other people use what you have and they pay for it.
Yeah, no kidding. So I remember a transaction that I heard from your business partner that you guys did on wholesale, and I believe it was 2 fourplexes. I think he called it an 8plex, and then just explained it was 2 fourplexes that came through your marketing, and then you guys wholesaled it.
Yep.
Do you mind sharing what made you, or makes you in general, decide if you are going to, knowing that you like 8plexes, big assets, what made you decide to wholesale that versus keep that, if you don't mind me asking? Other than the payday.
Yeah, man, that's a really good question, and it actually is a question I ask myself on every contract I get or every property I put under contract.
Yeah.
At least off-market stuff is, how do you quantify the value of holding a property and actually being an investor versus what the possible monetary upside would be of being a deal engineer.
Yeah.
Right? Because wholesalers, with all due respect, they're not real estate investors.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're deal engineers.
Right.
They don't actually invest. They buy
Right.
marketing They buy marketing.
Sure.
But they're not investing in the real estate.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that as well. I wholesale.
Yeah.
So we, at the time, a lot of it probably had to do with my personal financial situation and some of the goals that I had and trying to grow, and it was a big property.
Yeah.
At the time in my career, so it seemed like the path of least resistance, and the wholesale fee was attractive.
Yeah.
Seeing what happened with that asset, as always, when you wholesale something, it's like looking back, like, man, I should have kept that.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, that's a question I always ask myself, and now my formula more or less now is, especially with the way the market and the economy are, where's it located? What's the overall type and asset condition and class?
Yeah.
And is it something that I would be open to owning long term?
Gotcha.
And if that's the case and the numbers are good,
Yeah.
I'll hold it.
Got
If
it.
that's not the case, for me, I don't buy anymore. Well, I probably would if it was good enough.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. Just wishy-washy, man.
Yeah.
But for me, like, to hold something really long term, I
Yeah.
want them cute, I want them cookie cutter, and
Yeah.
I want all the units conforming in the same.
Yeah.
I don't want the 1903 7,000 square foot Victorian home in the Avenues that was chopped up into 15 units. And
Yeah.
that's not my asset.
Right.
There's a lot of guys that really would like that.
Yeah.
I would wholesale that. I
Gotcha.
just don't want to own it.
Got
I want really, like, just very formal,
Yeah.
laid out properties.
Got it, got it. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, was it in Sugar House? Or
That particular property was in Sugar House.
Yeah.
South Sugar House. Yeah.
Wow. So I'm sure today it's worth like 10 billion probably.
It's worth significantly more than we paid and significantly more than we wholesaled it for.
Right, yeah.
But so is the situation with everything that got wholesaled 2
Right,
years ago.
right. So true.
If only you could had a crystal ball.
Yes, exactly. And for those listeners who don't know Salt Lake area very well, Sugar House is a very highly desirable area in Salt Lake City, and so that's why we're kind of just joking around on like it's worth definitely significantly more today than probably back then.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and one thing too that's challenging about that is it's you never know where the market's going, and so
yeah,
on some of those prestigious assets, it's like how much of a compressed return are you willing to accept because it's a prestigious asset,
right.
versus if you go play in a different geographical location, you can probably get way better returns, but
Yeah.
you may not have as attractive of properties.
Right.
So it's kind of just this, happy medium and
Yeah.
kind of knowing what you're trying to accomplish and
Yeah.
things like that.
So true and so important. Totally. Okay, very cool.